Stephen. I'm an assistive technology and additional support needs teacher here at Call Scotland. Delighted to be joined this afternoon by Lee Chambers from Glean. Good afternoon, Lee. Great to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Lee is the head of DSA and Assistive Technology Services at Glean, who describe themselves as the #1 note-taking study tool supporting independent learning online, offline, on any device. So look forward to hearing all about this and seeing it in action this afternoon. Today's session is being recorded and the recording link will follow today's webinar by email for those that are not able to join us live. I would ask that you please ensure that your mics remain muted throughout today's presentation, and if you don't wish to be in the recording, then please pop your camera off now. The webinar is going to run for approximately 20 minutes and there'll be an opportunity afterwards. But if you do have any questions that pop into your head while Leah is presenting, please do pop them in the chat pane and we'll facilitate that at the end. And I'll pass over to Lee now. Thanks, Lee.
Cool. Can I just double check? Is it 20 minutes or 30 minutes? Was that
20 minutes presenting?
And then
ish. And
cool.
then
Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. Right. So thanks for having me on. First of all, my plan is not to run through any slides or try to talk to you about what Glean is. I just think it would be more effective if I show you. So going to give you a full demonstration of it here. I can't show you everything obviously in 20 minutes, but hopefully I will give you enough information where you understand a little bit about how it works and how you can utilize it. But one of the things I would encourage you to do is just to give it a go, because anybody can sign up for a 30-day free trial. It's not one of these trials that you need to put card details into either and then remember to cancel. And if you're doing some kind of job role that means you need to demonstrate AT to other people, we can give you free access, and not just 30 days. You can have it for as long as you need. I think there are a few links that hopefully will be posted into the chat where you can request one of these demo accounts. So how does it work? Well, first of all, you can use it on any device, and it's designed to help anyone with difficulties taking notes. So it's predominantly students who would be using this in a classroom-based environment, but it's also applicable for workplace, actually. I use it quite a bit to help me in meetings. And you can use it when you're kind of in person in the same room with somebody, but it also works when you're online. So you can use it when you're on Teams calls like you are now, or when you're maybe watching a video or something like that. So any environment you need to take notes, you'll be able to use this with. But let's show you the key functions. So we're going to pretend that I am a student about to attend a class, and I'm going to use Glean to help me take notes. The first thing we will do from my Glean account is to start a new event, and then we'll give it a name. So we're going to pretend we are about to attend a lecture all about studying effectively. Now, the main thing that Glean enables you to do is to capture all of the information from class. Primarily, that's going to be the teacher, the lecturer, whoever it is speaking, but it can also be slides. Slides are often used in class, so you can capture both elements in Glean. If you do have slides, you can import them at any time, but it is usually beneficial to import them before class starts if you have access to them. So I am going to import some slides. It is important to say that you don't have to do this. It's completely optional. If you're using this where there are no slides, then you can ignore that step altogether. But I do want to show you how it works. We'll come back to the slides in a minute or two, because the main thing that you're going to want to capture in class is everything that's said, and you do that by recording. So all you need to do is go into your recording options and then select the appropriate option. If you are in person, you'd use the microphone option. If you were doing this remotely, you'd use one of the others. I'm obviously in the same room as my computer, so I will use the microphone option. As soon as you start to record, Glean then is going to capture absolutely everything that's said. And it also visualizes the audio that's been recorded as well. So those gray bars you see on the right-hand side of the screen, it's just a visualization of the audio that's being captured. Think of this as a timeline almost. Now, the benefit of recording really is to free you up, because you want to spend the majority of your time when you're in class thinking about the information that's been presented, asking questions. You don't really want to be distracted by the process of trying to do too much note taking. So we record all of the information to give you a bit of a safety net, because it means you don't have to write everything down, and you know you can go back to that audio afterwards when you've got a little bit more time after class. But the challenge you've got is if you just record and do nothing, all you end up with is one big long audio file. And that's quite a difficult thing for people to manage and to navigate through, because most of the time you don't want to listen back to everything. You just want to go back to those key moments, those things that were important, things that you didn't understand. So what Glean enables you to do is to take notes, but those notes you take work alongside the audio you're recording, and the two things are synced with each other. And there's lots of different ways you can do this. I'm just going to show you some of the key ways. So firstly, probably the most common way of taking notes is just by adding some text. So let's say you're listening away now, you hear something, you think this is really important, you can just start typing. So maybe I hear a key point and I decide to write key point. So I just type and then hit enter to add my note. Now, every time you add a note like this, it appears on your notes feed, as you can see. But importantly, if you hover over that, you can see that it's time-stamped. But visually, you can also see where that's linked in your audio file, because it puts a little bullet point label here and puts that exact bullet point in here. So what it's allowing you to do, what it's encouraging you to do, is to listen out for those key points, those things that you think you may want to go and listen back to later. But instead of having to write all of the detail out in the moment, you're really just adding a bookmark. And I think that's the best way to think about this. It's allowing you to add bookmarks for all of those things you're listening to that you might want to go back to later on. Because all of the details in here, you just need a way of getting back to that detail quickly afterwards. And you know what? It can be as simple as that. Some people will just use that text note functionality. But there's lots of other different ways you can do it. I'm not going to show you all of them, but the more common ones would be these three buttons here. We call these labels. This is a way to identify a note and put a bookmark in without having to worry about writing anything. So this one here is the important label. The idea is that if you hear something and you think, well, that's important, you can click on that label. Does the same thing. Adds it as a note, timestamps it, visually links it to your audio timeline, but you didn't have to worry about writing anything down. Now, if you are using Glean alongside presentation slides, you can also add those slides as well. Now, the idea here would be if the teacher, the lecturer, moves to the next slide in the presentation in class and you want to add that slide into your notes, well, you've already imported the slides in here. It would be as simple as posting that slide into your notes. And every time you add a slide, it kind of puts it in as a heading. Again, it timestamps it and puts it in at the right moment. And it's a great way of breaking all of that information up. And it means that you really just take all of the things that were said on each slide and break it down into much more manageable sections. Now, they're the three main functions. The other ones to be aware of that I won't dwell on too much is that there's a task feature in here where you can go in and assign yourself tasks with due dates. And there's also a Scribble tool in here as well, which is basically gives you the ability to do, well, scribbles. I guess the clue is in the name. So this gives you a bit more of a freehand way to do drawings and maybe capture equations and stuff like that. But those first three are the main annotation tools we have in here. And that's really all you need to know about using this live in the moment. It's not complex. The whole principle is to capture everything and then just tag those things that you might want to go back to afterwards. Now, when you do come back to this afterwards, we've got a few tools to make that reviewing side of things much easier as well. The first thing to say is that you can just listen back to the audio if you want. But we also have a function in here that allows you to transcribe all of this audio as well. It's quite useful to have both the audio and the transcript, and you can choose which one you want to use. We support multiple languages for transcription, and I'll transcribe this actually. It will only take a few seconds to do the transcription. It takes about, I think it's about 4 or 5 minutes for an hour-long audio recording typically. I was only talking there for a couple of minutes, so this won't take long at all. And it will pop all of the transcript in there alongside the audio. And it just gives you another option when you go to play stuff back. Some people just like to listen. Some people like to listen and also allow themselves to follow along in the transcript. You choose. You just choose by toggling between one or the other. And in case you're wondering what this looks like, if you did want to play back from the start of here, all you would need to do is click back at the very start, hit the play button, and then you'll hear the audio. And if you're in this transcript view, you'll see the transcript as well. Best thing for me to do there is just to show you it. So I'm going to shut up for a moment, hit the play button, and then you're going to hear me again from a couple of minutes ago. As soon as you start to record, Glean then is going to capture absolutely everything that's said. And it also visualizes the audio that's being recorded as well. So those gray bars you see on the right-hand side of the screen, it's just a visualization of the audio that's being captured. So as you can see there, when you're in that transcript view, it plays it back still. You still listen back to it, but it highlights the sentence, highlights the individual words. So you can follow along with it a little bit easier. And you also, by the way, have the flexibility of changing the color themes. I know that blue doesn't always work when you're following the transcript. There's about 7 or 8 different color schemes in here you can choose from. Pick one that's easier for you. I personally find the pink background color a little bit easier to read the text from. So that's some basic playback and transcription. But the thing is, like I said at the start, when you've recorded your class, you're probably not going to want to listen back to everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up a demo file, which has got a lot more information in here. And I want to show you a few tools to help you navigate through these recordings. There's actually 3 different ways you can navigate. First of all, I'm going to go into my transcript view. So the first way of navigating really is a manual way, and that's by using your own notes and annotations. Because every time you add a text note or a slide or a label or whatever you put into here, it's not only time-stamped, but it's directly linked to that content. And if you hover over any of these notes, you'll see it gives it a little play button above it. So the idea is, if I come back to this, I'm naturally going to want to listen back to those own annotations I made. So if I just hover over one of these and hit play from here, it will jump straight to that part in the audio and the transcript where I added that note. So I'll just hit play again so you can see it do that.
During this presentation, we're going to take a look at effective notes, a great process to use.
Obviously, that wasn't my voice because this is a demo file, but you get the idea there. Basically, you can jump to those specific moments in your recording that you made and listen back at your own pace. But here's the thing. Even the most proficient note taker and Glean user isn't going to be able to annotate and identify all of the key moments live in the moment. So how else do you find information? Well, a couple of things. One of the reasons I really love the ability to transcribe is because as soon as you transcribed all of your audio, everything becomes searchable. Because I can't search for stuff in that view, that's just some abstract gray bars. But when I've transcribed it, I can do keyword searches. So if I know there's information in here, information that was said, but I didn't make a note about it, I can just bring up my search tool. So I've just pressed Command and F there. And then I can look for whatever it is I'm looking for. So maybe I know in here there is some information on passive studying. I might type passive studying. And then what it's going to do is hunt through that transcript and identify any points at which that was said. And then obviously I can pop my cursor there and play back from that moment in time. I use that functionality all of the time in my meetings, to be honest, because sometimes in meetings I'm talking, I'm asking questions, and I don't take a lot of notes. I don't do a lot of those bookmarks, but then I'll go back to the recording and someone asks me a question about something, and I'll use that search functionality to find the answers, basically, find the info that I need. But there is another way, because even that one isn't going to solve all of your problems, because it relies on you being able to know what to search for. And sometimes the reality is that you will record something and then not look at it for weeks and months. And by the time you get back to look at it again, you've pretty much forgotten everything that was said. So one of the functions we added towards the back end of last year was an AI-powered outline feature. It's that little button there. And what the outline function basically does is analyze your transcript, identifies different topics that were discussed, and basically breaks everything into chapters. And that's the best way I like to view this feature, is that it's creating a contents page for the information you captured. Now, it's still not writing your notes up for you. That's not the idea behind this. We actually think that the onus on writing the detailed notes up should be on the individual. It's in the process of writing notes up and putting things in your own words where a lot of the learning actually happens. So we don't want to do that for you, but we want to use this outline tool to help direct you towards the content that you might care about. And it's really neat because, as you can see, it breaks it down nice and simply: heading, brief description, and all of these chapters are linked to the content. So, for example, if I'm reviewing this outline, reminding myself about what was discussed in this class, and then I decide that I want to focus in on the information about retrieval practice techniques, I can click on here and it will jump to where that information was discussed in my audio file. If I just go into the transcript view, you should see that, yeah, there we go. It's now in the section about retrieval practice. So the outline feature is really a navigation tool. And that's what we kind of refer to in terms of responsible use of AI in tools, because we're a big believer that there is massive value in the note-taking process and you doing note-taking yourself. And we want to assist with that, but we don't just want to do it for you. It would not be difficult now for us to just get the AI to give you some notes. But we fundamentally think that's bad for learning. So that's not the way we're utilizing it. So that's all of the different ways in which you can navigate and identify what you want to review. When it comes to actually writing your notes up, this part's the easy part, because you can add new notes, you can edit existing notes, you can go into any one of these afterwards and then just add more detailed information, etc., etc. It's also worthwhile saying, and you're the first people in the UK, actually first people in the world perhaps, who've seen this on a demo. We've very recently added a new annotation feature focused on the slides, because previously you could add slides into your notes, but you couldn't really do much else with them. And what a lot of our users have been asking for is a way to draw on these slides and highlight important information on presentation slides that are given to you. So you can do that now. I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but you'll notice if you've seen Glean before, this will be new, have all of these annotation tools. So let's say you're on a slide like this and you decide you want to highlight some important text. You can, select the highlight tool, and then these are fully annotatable. That's not even a word, I don't think. But you can do loads of stuff with them now. I'm really excited about this because it's the one feature that we got a lot of users, and they've been asking for this for a long time. It only got added about a week ago or something like that. So very, very new. One last feature to finish off on, and one that I think is useful, and I know a lot of our users have been utilizing recently. And it's another AI-powered feature. But again, it's not one that's going to do stuff for you. It's actually a quizzing tool that we've got in here now, because one of the best study techniques is retrieval practice, testing yourself, finding out what you know and what you don't know. So if you haven't used this before, it's really cool. This little button here, it's basically a multiple choice quiz generator. It's using the content that you've recorded to do this, and it allows you to generate, well, multiple choice quizzes based on that content. nice and easy to use, but it's a really great way for you to capture the info from a class and then go back into it and then try to figure out, do I know the answers to this? Was I listening? Can I remember this type of stuff? I think it's great for identifying gaps in knowledge. It's all well and good getting answers correct. But I think what's really good about this, like I say, is when you get to the end of the little quiz, it then tells you how you've done. And then I got them all wrong there because I was randomly clicking on things. And then it identifies the things that you should really go and spend a bit more time on and revise. Because if you got them wrong in this quiz, well, if you've got an exam or something like that, you're not going to be able to get it right in that scenario either. So it's a great little way to help you study from your notes as well as write them up in the first place. That's my 20 minutes up. Like I say, not everything you can do in this, but hopefully from that very quick demonstration, you understand the purpose of Glean. It's not complicated. Capture the info, annotate the stuff you care about, navigate back to it in your own time afterwards, then write your notes up in as much or as little detail as you need. But I would encourage you to try it. It's one of the reasons we offer free accounts and free trials for people, because when you get your hands on it and give it a go yourself, you'll see how useful it can be. I use it every single day in work. And that's all I was going to go through. So if we've got time and you've got any questions, please do fire them at me. I don't know if you can even talk, by the way, but I can't go back to Teams until I stop sharing my screen.
Right, that was great. Thank you, Lee. I've got a couple of questions in the chat.
Yeah.
How does Glean transcription manage with regional or strong accents? Because some online transcription tools aren't very good.
Yeah. Without testing it with the accent you're referring to, I guess it's impossible to say it's going to be perfect. I mean, any automated transcription system is going to make errors. And I think the more neutral the voice is, the less errors there's going to be. But what I can say for certain is that thing that we use to power this is pretty much the best you can get. So you're going to struggle to get anything more accurate. But it's never going to get it 100% right. And that's one of the reasons why we always say that the transcript shouldn't be used in isolation. The idea isn't to read this transcript. The idea is that you still listen back to it and then have the transcript as a supporting thing. And that's really important because you need to be able to identify any errors in the transcript, and you're not going to do that unless you're listening to it at the same time. But I'd give it a go. I mean, I'm probably speaking fairly clearly here, but my normal accent is a little bit more Geordie than perhaps I'm saying now, and it doesn't have a problem with me. I obviously haven't tried it with too many other accents, of course, but give it a go. You might be surprised at how good it is.
Okay, thank you. How does Glean manage where multiple people might talk over each other in a larger room? Would it still capture the audio?
It would still capture the audio, but what it won't do at the moment is separate that up into different speakers. And that's primarily because the main use case for Glean, and kind of always has been, would be a student sat in a lecture theatre, to be perfectly honest. Our main user base are college and university students. We are considering doing that speaker diarization thing where we'll identify different speakers and display them. It just hasn't been something requested, I'll be honest, by a lot of users, so it hasn't been prioritized yet. But I do hope personally that will come in the not too distant future. I'd find that useful in a meeting environment where, like you say, lots of different people are talking.
Yeah, or discussion activities, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
If a pupil only has a phone, can they open Glean and other online pages?
I'm not sure what you mean by other online pages, but yeah, there is a Glean mobile app. You can do the vast majority of things. It's a little bit different. You can record, you can bring in slides, you can annotate, you can transcribe. You can use all of those slide annotation features. There's a few things that are unique to the web browser, though. So the quiz tool, for example, you can only do that when you're on a laptop. And
Right.
that outline function, at the moment, that's only available on the laptop, but I think the plan is to add that to the mobile app version as well fairly soon.
Okay, the person that asked that, it was Claire actually, and she said she's asking because being on multiple pages because her internet provider stopped providing a service in her area and she's surviving on her phone, so it's quite difficult.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, I suppose I'm just trying to think. I know when I've used my tablet before, I think I've got an iPad and you can have like two separate windows open at the same time. So technically, yeah, you could kind of have your web browser up and Glean up at the other side. I'm not so sure that would work on a phone too well. I mean, a phone screen's not very big, is it? So yeah, using two things at the same time there might be slightly tricky.
Yeah. Somebody's asking from I suppose a GDPR point of view, where are the audio recordings stored?
Good question. They're actually stored in two locations. They're stored locally on your device. And the reason we do that is so that you can access your notes and you can record when you're offline. And that's a really important thing because you're not always guaranteed to get access to the internet. When you are online, it also syncs it up to your own Glean cloud storage. That is powered by AWS, Amazon Web Services, and all of the servers that are for that are UK based. And as you might suspect, we have to have pretty high levels of data encryption. We have banks using this. We've actually got the Home Office and the Department for Work and Pensions using this, and we had to go through their systems for vetting data security, which, as you might suspect, are probably the highest you can get. So it's a very secure platform in terms of data security. We've actually got a page set up with all of the details. It's very, very transparent what we do. Might send you to sleep reading it, to be perfectly honest, but all of the details are there.
Okay, thank you. Any hints and tips on using and integrating Glean effectively with Teams or Google Workspace?
Yeah, well, if you were using Glean with Teams, you would be better using the browser extension. So if you join a Teams meeting or Zoom or Google Meet or you're watching a video, I usually join that from my web browser, mainly because I like to use Glean. And you can basically launch Glean in a little side panel. And it basically allows you, the full space of your screen to be the Teams meeting, or whatever it is. And then Glean operates like as a little sidebar almost. And you can capture the audio from there. You can take notes in the same way. It's pretty much exactly the same. But yeah, use the browser extension for that. If you want tips and tricks on how to do all of this stuff, by the way, feel free to kind of get back to me. I'd quite happily show you it now, but I know we don't have that much more time on the webinar.
You want to pop your contact details in the chat, Lee?
Yes, I can do.
Is that all right? And I've put the link to the training videos as well. So that.
Right, yes, cool. Yeah, because I provided them, didn't I?
Yeah. Somebody's asking there, is it possible to see the transcription at the same time as the live speaker, almost like live subtitles?
Yes, but there's two different versions of Glean. There's the version I've shown you there, and then there's a version which does offer live captions as well. You'll know which version you've got, because if you've got the one with live captions, you'll have this little CC button. I think this is what you're asking for. So if you've got this version, you turn that on. While you're recording, you get the text on the screen. Am I still sharing my screen? I am, aren't I?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So if I just turn this on, when you turn the live captions on, you then get the live transcription appear on the screen as you talk. And just like with the transcription tool, you can do this in multiple different languages. The vast majority of people don't have this version. I'll be open. The version with live captions costs significantly more than the version without it, quite simply because it costs us a lot more to deliver live captions in the moment. So it's primarily aimed at those with hearing loss who would benefit from obviously having the text on screen whilst they're listening. But everyone gets access to the post-recording transcription version.
Okay. And I've got time for one more. Does the quiz work on an iPad?
Ooh, does the quiz work on an iPad? No. That's one of the functions that will only work on the web version. Just trying to think. Yeah, the outline, the quiz. Yeah, I think they're the two things, the outline and the quiz, that only work on the, well, browser version, I guess. Yeah.
On the mobile.
It may come to the mobile app at some point.
Okay.
I don't know whether there's restrictions on the mobile technology that allows that or not. I don't know the honest answer.
Sure. Well, I think that was great. Lots of good questions and discussion there. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. Lee, thanks very much for your time. That was great.
No,
and we are back next week with Kyan Fields of WeaveChat to find out all about their free AAC app. So have a lovely evening, everyone. Go out and enjoy the sunshine, and we'll see you next week.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Bye now.
Bye.